This week's topic is all about transportation and busing for kids in foster care.
Hey guys, welcome back to, I did it. I said, hey guys. I didn't show you. I had a friend who did a YouTube parody that said like people on YouTube, they always like say stuff like, hey guys, welcome to our channel. And I just did it. I fell into the YouTube parody trap. You out there, no. Hello everyone. Welcome to Fostering Kids Universe. We're so glad you're here. And we are excited to talk about this week. We forgot to mention last week, I think, we watched a movie called Free Willy. If those of you as old as us remember that. The kids have never seen it. When they first got here, their favorite movies were like Chucky. And they wanted to rewatch a movie they watched called Wedding Crashers. If some of you people that don't want to admit it have seen that. So we're trying to reintroduce them to some old classic kid movies and not killer movies.
Yeah, I didn't even remember that the main character was a foster kid. Like, I don't think I've seen the movie in 20 years.
That's why I wanted to mention it, because they're watching like, oh, he's a foster kid just like us. So it was kind of, we didn't really have a major conversation, but I think the next morning they woke up and like, can we watch that again? So there was something that struck a chord with them. So suggest that if any of you want to watch that, and about saving the whales.
Yeah, I don't know if that hotline number is accurate anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it did play at the end. Another thing is I made a really stupid decision yesterday on challenging our oldest that if she got straight A's, that I would give her free Starbucks for a week. Knowing that...
She has like one B.
Yeah, well, but it's a deep B. It's at least, what, an 84? I don't think she can pull it off. But having said that, when they first got here, they had pretty bad grades. And now they're kind of catching up. So because of our last week's topic about Pinterest and all that stuff, we have taken her computer away for the time being. And she did sneak it tonight when our sister-in-laws were watching them. And we found out she emailed her teacher and asked how she can get extra credit for her grade to get up to an A. So I can't really fault her for that one. But yeah. You think she can pull it off? I kind of hope she does, but then hope she doesn't. But that sounds like an awful thing to say.
So tonight we were at a conference that my parents invited us to that was all about different opportunities for serving in our community, which is pretty cool. There were different people, representatives there from different homeless shelters and kids camps and things for kids with disabilities.
It was pretty cool. I got to meet the people that were running the program called Safe Families. Well, they were volunteering to run it. Their booth, and this, if it's backwards on the screen, then just put a mirror up to the computer. But it's Safe Families. Here's the website here, safefamilies.org. I would highly suggest looking into that. We are going to actually have a whole conversation about that in the future. I'm hoping actually to get some guest speakers that actually went through this program. We know a couple families that did that, so that'll be in the future. But in the meantime, look up Safe Families so you know all about it before we talk about it. That would be awesome. Before we segue into the main topic about transportation, I wanted to just kind of say a quick little thing that I would do in the future if I were to do this again, which is to, while you're going to your foster classes, to look up if you know what age range you're going to do, then you probably know if they're going to go to preschool, daycare, kindergarten, whatever, age group you have. But I would suggest looking up the daycares around your area, going to the schools, getting the numbers for the transportation district, in our case, the transportation district lady, which is what's on my phone, and just getting to know the contacts before you have kids come to your house. We did it when they showed up, and it proved to be a challenge that I look back now at, and I wish we didn't have to go through that in that moment.
Yeah.
But we did.
So the first 3 weeks we were pretty crazy because we were not only trying to get the kids adjusted to life in a new home, and we were trying to adjust to having foster kids, but we also had to figure out where they were going to go to school, daycare, and how they were going to get back and forth. And I think if there were some things that I knew beforehand, we would have saved ourselves a lot of headache, because it really did. We had to take off 3 weeks of work trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
You threatened to quit your job and just be a stay-at-home dad.
Thought about it.
That was a little crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't.
too.
We did work it out to where when we first got the kids, because it's a surprise. They call you up and say, hey, we got kids, and you got to drop everything. And I already kind of pre-let work know, like, hey, when this happens, we might have to take off. But the first couple days, I believe it was a weekend. So we had them the weekend where we got to get to know
Labor Day
them.
weekend, yeah.
And then we both took off a couple days. But then she stayed home with the kids first week or something, and then she went back to work, and I stayed home with the kids the second week. So we were able to, it was summertime. They didn't have school. I think school was just starting like 2 weeks after they got
Yeah,
here.
it was Labor Day weekend.
So we were able to kind of jog our work schedule around to really get to have them know us, each individual and together, which I think did help a lot to solidify our relationship just at the get-go. If we would have just like dropped them off at school if it was a school year, which probably would happen if that was the case, I don't think we would have had as good of a relationship starting off as we did. All right, here's the big topic, the busing situation. We started school, like I said, about 2 weeks after we got the kids, and we had a toddler in preschool, and then we had a kindergarten who had a half day. And one thing I don't think we really thought about was their start times, and when we start work, and then the half day, we're kind of like, oh, she had to go home at whatever it was, noon, and we were still working, so what do we do? That was when we didn't know our caseworker well enough to know how to deal with her, and she didn't really help us out in the beginning. And we were going back and forth. I was the one home that week trying to figure it out, so I was always on the phone with our transportation district lady and our daycare who provided busing, but not to our school at that time. So that was a bit of a conflict.
Yeah, there's a lot of phone calls. So there's a couple things that I learned that I wish I had known. Number one is that if a daycare has availability, they have to take foster kids. Mm-hmm. Now, they can try to weasel their way out of it by saying they don't have any open spaces. So you might need to be a little bit sneaky and just say you have a couple of kids before you mention that they're foster kids.
We're not saying lie.
not
Just
lie.
say you have a couple kids and then go through the whole process. And at the very end, when they want you to sign to
Figure out
pay,
how to pay.
then you say, oh, by the way, there are foster kids.
No, we have a really awesome daycare. I mean,
We do.
we've been there for
They are exceptional.
2.5 years, and they've been really, really awesome with our kids. We're really fortunate.
Daycare is paid for. So
Yes.
we went to a couple daycares. I don't know if you went with me, that were not the best and greatest. They were close to home, but we walked in, and I think the one time, the one head lady like looked at our little girl and said, "Hey, little mama, what are you doing today?" And it was just like, "Yeah, let's get out of here." But our facility that we currently go to has cameras in every room, and they're just awesome. It's way too expensive. We couldn't afford it if it was our own kids, but us as taxpayers, you guys out there are paying for their nice daycare. So remind yourself of that when you're looking for daycare for foster kids.
Yes, because one thing we were really looking for was transportation to and from school. And we were looking at a daycare. Little did we know that
Dun dun dun. No. You go ahead. I'm just so excited.
under the Homeless Assistance Act, foster care children qualify as homeless. So they are eligible for free busing. The end, period. That's it.
Yeah, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Just get us some busing. It took us a while to figure this out. Like I said, I was on the phone for a week going back and forth with the school.
Like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was a long time. Just going back and forth with phone calls until finally I had to go to work the next day, and this was after a couple weeks, and we didn't have busing, and we didn't have anyone to drive our kids at that moment. We had some church friends who were like, I can do this, just not tomorrow, whatnot. So I don't want to say lied, but I told our caseworker, I texted her and said, we don't have busing yet. We're just going to have to call a taxi for our 6-year-old. And don't get me wrong, if you live in a city or something and that might be the best option, or Uber, I think they have Uber for kids. I don't know. More power to you, but in the area that we live, the suburbia area, calling a taxi is like not the greatest thing. So she kind of freaked out, and literally, kid you not, within an hour, got a text back and said, oh, they fall under the Homeless Care Act. I talked to your transportation lady. We got the bus coming tomorrow morning. I was like, what? This whole time you didn't tell us this? So now that we know that secret word, I have to use it every year. Every time we sign up for bus, we don't sign up, we just call them up.
Yeah.
And we just say, hey, they fall under the Homeless Care Act, get us some busing.
Yeah, there is a little bit of push every year. It's a little bit of juggling, but definitely easier every year.
And I keep saying,
figured out.
We call it, our caseworker called it the Homeless Care Act, so that's what we call it, and that's what our transportation lady calls it.
But we just Googled it, and I think it's actually the Homeless Assistance Act.
Yeah. So if you're looking that up, it's the Homeless Assistance Act. Not only, in our case, did they provide busing, but because me and foster mom work at the same time, 9 to 5, and our kids start school at 9, we couldn't have our kids get picked up on the bus the time that they wanted, because it was just too late. We had to leave for work. So once we mentioned the Homeless Care Act, they allowed us to we drive about a half hour earlier to a different bus stop so we can go off to work and drop our little guy off to daycare. So they worked with us with that. Last year they actually created a new bus stop for our girls when they both bused together. It was pretty fantastic. It was like this magic word of like, oh, we can't do that, Homeless Care Act, and they're like, oh, okay, we got it, we figured it out. So yeah, it was pretty awesome.
If you're looking for that magic word, if you're struggling, or if you get foster kids and you're worried about how you're going to get them to and fro, that's the word.
Yeah, it's awesome sauce, as the young people say. Anyway, we hope. That young. Oh, sorry. We hope that this helped you out a lot. Definitely helped us out when we figured out about the Homeless Care Act. Please use it if you haven't yet, and let them figure out a bus schedule that suits your needs. I'm not saying that it's going to be cake for you wherever you are.
Or to manipulate the system.
Yeah. No. But if you can, use it to your benefit, and it is awesome. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube. Damn, that's another one that's in the parody. Everyone says like and subscribe. Just do whatever you feel like is in your best interest at heart. Is that a better way?
No.
Oh. Appreciate you watching. Love you guys. No.
There's a reason that they say it. It's like saying hello. It's not weird. It's just what people do when they greet you.
Goodbye and have a great week, and keep on supporting those kids in foster care. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.